right, so what we're going to do this morning, again, a little different. We're just going to keep the Hollywood squares open. Okay, we're not going to do our breakouts like normal, but we are going to have people open up with questions, right? We're just going to do some bantering, and I'll participate as I can. Actually, as I'm talking, I'm feeling a little better. But we're just going to keep it really open and really organic. And as people come in, we'll just keep answering questions as much as we can. And what I'd like to do too today is, have you guys answer each other's questions, right? Because you guys have, good stuff to share, and, we're just going to keep it super organic. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and just open stuff up. If you want to open your mic and you want to open with a question, we can certainly address it, and we'll just keep things super free flowing and organic. Okay. Just a little different today. All right, so here's the first question. Christine?
Sure. Yeah, I would love to ask a question. And you answered my prayer. I pre-emailed you a question. Here's my scenario, and it's mostly for either Wendy or Corliss is my guess. So Wendy knows me. She and I work together, and I bring to the market more than 20 years of private industry. But I thought, hey, I've got some good skills to bring to the federal marketplace. So I have been trying that avenue for a bit with limited success. Just this past week, I received a reply from USA Jobs that because I was applying for a small business role that had a whole mess of assessments, it gave me a response and told me that it looked like I'll use the joke, passed by go and maybe earned $200. And so I was curious if there have, how I can better learn from what I received back. And if I don't know if you can see your email, share it, because I sent you a copy of what I received back that might help either Corliss or Wendy. But my intent is to continue learning, because I do see it as a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of tongue in cheek trying to understand, what did I do right this time in terms of answering the assessments, that at least I progressed, because quite honestly, in my heart of hearts, I know that one of the questions that I answered, I did not say, yes, I can, I can advise others, because it had to, I forgot exactly what it was. But, I guess my question is when we get something back like this, how do we know that something didn't change in USA Jobs, or how can I use this as, I'm becoming more proficient in answering the assessments? That's a kind of a vague question, but.
Corliss, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, so the challenge is that we really don't know how the HR folks have programmed the computer screen out questions, which is called the self-assessment questionnaire. So they might say, we have 100 questions. Out of 100 questions, give me all of the candidates who answered at the expert level to 99 of the questions. And one question can be less than expert, but it's question number 34. So they can be that precise about how they program everything. So what we tell our clients is answer at the highest possible level. This is where you really have to market yourself, boast, brag, and think outside of the box of when you can think of instances when you have done what they're asking for. Volunteer, paid, unpaid, civic, social, school, training, education, towards your degree, whatever. If you've done any of what they're asking for, you got to give yourself credit, because it's just a computer that's going to either move you forward or hold you back. So you have to really, answer the best that you can. In your particular instance, they probably didn't have, they didn't have a need for everybody to answer at the highest level, or maybe there wasn't a lot of applications or weren't a lot of people who applied to the position, and they could take a larger batch of applicants and move them forward. So we're not going to know from our side. We just have to do the best we can, and in the strategy that we employ as we're trying to move forward in that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, you know, my strategy has been, so that particular position was enrichment. And so my strategy at this point is, you know, pick some things that I would be willing to accept, but I, you know, quite honestly think is in the outside range and, you know, where I'll be competing against fewer folks because I don't know, that's right now, that's where my strategy is.
Absolutely. If there's ways, so there's different ways to get to the grocery store, right? So there's different
Yeah.
routes that you can take. And, you know, that's definitely one of them. And, you know, if you have any kind of disability, and that could mean from, you know, physical, it could be you're a cancer survivor, it could be thyroidism, it could be ADHD, right? So there's a wide variety of definitions that the government has for quote unquote disability. If you fall under that category, that's another route that you can take that, you know, can help folks get in. And usually, I mean, there's one or two things on that list that everybody can, you know, can utilize, leverage, utilize, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, there's different ways to move forward, and definitely looking at places that might have fewer applicants is one strategy. Look at agencies that have many jobs in one category is another strategy. So, you know, there's different strategies that you can employ.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else have a question?
Hey guys,
Comments?
I start out by saying that I'm not doing so well, so I'm actually going to have to bow out, unfortunately. But we're going to keep on.
Oh,
Rick, yeah, sorry. So
sorry,
Rick,
Sharon. I hope you feel
yeah,
better.
thank you. So Rick and Kiki is here, and Wendy and Corliss. So I'm going to let everybody else handle today's questions. Look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Okay.
Well, feel better.
Feel better.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It stinks.
Right. I mean, she's such a hard act to follow that I don't. Does anyone have any other, anything else that they want to share? Oh, Dia?
Yeah, I have a question. I hope my connection's good. I've been struggling with my computer. Is it okay when we're leveraging the LinkedIn connections that you just kind of bypass the introduction? So I've got a second connection at a company that I applied to, and instead of trying to figure out who knows her, can I just go directly to her and say, hey, I know that, you know, we've got some folks in common.
I'm going to go ahead and answer, start out by answering and say, yes, if you have a connection or you know someone that you have in common, like even if go there first to try to figure out, you know, who you know in common and speak directly to them. I've had people do that with me. And I don't have any problem with it because we've all, you know, been in their shoes. Most of us have been in their shoes before where, you know, somebody's trying to figure out as much information as they can get as far as whether it's about the culture or who they know in common at a particular organization, what have you. So I would say go ahead and reach out to that person that you do have a connection with. Any of our other experts want to weigh in?
Well, I'd say the same thing, Kiki. It's better to show initiative than to get, you know, struggle and wonder. I'd rather have someone that I see that's showing initiative, and that speaks more to how they'll be on the job, you know, to me than some. And if you don't have anything to lose really at that point, and everything to gain, I think.
I didn't know if Corliss or Wendy had anything that they wanted to. I'm trying to see who else is on here.
I would just concur with that, to go ahead and reach out.
Okay. Mike, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. I think this has been covered before, but I didn't have it written down well. I'm curious on some good verbs for tiering levels of experience, especially say like with tools and applications. So let's assume by this question that we're not an expert. From the different words, and if there's others, familiarity, knowledge of, experience with, what is a good ranking order from I've heard of it but not used it to I've dabbled to maybe I used it a couple of years ago?
Well, I know that our experts will have something to say about this. I can tell you what I've heard Shira say week after week after week on some of it, which is, to say that, I'm familiar with, to share what you do know, but not to embellish, not to go beyond it, but to share what you do have familiarity with. Rick, did you want to weigh in? I'm picking on you because I see you right next to me on the Zoom, but any of the experts, if you want to jump in.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to change my position then on the on the screen. But I would agree with what you just said. But I also, as far as verbiage, expert, and then for me, someone that says experience with, that just tells me that you've had some experience. You might not be an expert, but you could probably pick it up. Familiarity would probably come next in my ranking, and then knowledge of would come last before no experience. So knowledge of is, you know how to spell CPIC or, whatever your skill level is. And sometimes when we're looking for someone, and it's a lower level position, we say, if they can spell CPIC, or they know what it is, we can teach them the rest. So that's how I would rank them myself. And one other quick thing, this doesn't have anything to do with the question, but if anyone that has financial experience with the federal government, we're currently looking for a senior acquisition specialist that has, they call it cradle to grave. So basically the acquisition side and the contract closeout. So if you have any of those skills, please email me. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead, and since Rick brought up that, he has that job availability there, over in the chat, these are the links to some of the ongoing resources that you can access, so that if you want to get more resources, find out more information, if you want access to today's recording, you didn't quite catch what Rick said there, and want to go back and watch it, or if you want to find out Rick's contact information, things like that. And Rick will put it in the chat too, but if you want to get that information, just go check out these different materials, and that will have some helpful information for you. Sometimes I take notes during these calls, and so I did find some notes that I had taken before where I actually quoted something that was an answer to this question. So this is what Shira said last time this came up. While I haven't had, this is an example of a script you could use. While I haven't had direct experience, I have had some familiarity with it. And from my understanding, these are the key issues. And that might be a way to address it, to show that you're familiar with something, even if that wasn't directly in like what you were required to do in your current or previous jobs.
Kiki?
Yeah.
Corliss, I just wanted to say something about that. So in the federal government, it's very important to tell them in your resume and of course in your interview that you do have skills, because skills actually count in your favor a little bit more so than the corporate sector. You don't have to always have experience performing the work or paid experience performing the work. If you have, and I can't say the word familiarity with a particular skill set, that actually gives you credit as well. And this is one of the things that you want to be cognizant of when you're answering that assessment questionnaire, that you're giving yourself full credit. It doesn't have to be that you hands-on we're touching something, but sometimes we have to push the envelope a little bit, and they actually like that. When we're building a resume for a client for the federal sector, we always like to look at everything they bring to the table and have like a kitchen sink resume, because it's a really good thing for employers to see that you don't only have one skill set, but you have multiple, because many of them are hiring one person to fulfill a couple of different vacancies. So it's a good thing to show the depth and breadth of your experience. So it's a slightly different, I think. And this is one reason why getting to the federal government for students is something that, they like to pursue, because their skills that they learn in school count as almost as much as experience, hands-on experience does. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's an excellent addition. Thank you for that. And Mike, did you have another question, or did we get it?
Yeah, no, and thank you guys for the different levels. I appreciate that. I was actually just going to follow up with Corliss, and I didn't mean to monopolize, but with regarding the skills and whatnot, and I'm completely foreign to the government market at the moment, but recently I've seen some advertisements for positions within the government, and I'm curious as to if they're negotiable at all, because I know people in what I would call the same or very similar roles at higher levels, whatever, GS 14, and the positions are advertised at 12 or 13. And I was just curious if it's advertised whatever the level 10, if that's hard and fast, or if you come in and you've literally written the book on the subject, would they then say, oh, obviously not?
So the job that you apply to, the job that you see in USA Jobs, and the one that you apply to, the salary that you can be paid for that position is listed in that particular position, meaning there's a range, and it'll go from 1 to 100. They will always offer you $1. You can negotiate all the way up to the top of the range. You do have to have a little bit of leverage behind you. So there's a couple things that they will want to see, but you can negotiate. You cannot negotiate a higher grade, the 12, the 13, the 14. You can't negotiate that unless it is listed in the announcement as what is called a career ladder. So if it says GS 12/15, that means they're hiring at either the 12, the 13, the 14, or the 15, or all of the above, or some kind of different configuration there. But you can't negotiate outside of the grade. If there's only one grade listed and one position, that's what they're looking for. The only thing you can do is wait until another job comes out, or you might want to call them and just see what's coming down the pipeline, but they're probably not going to have any other information than that.
Okay. We do have a question. Bonnie, are you ready to ask your question?
I am.
Okay.
I actually, first of all, thank you guys. I got connected to 2 other people who are looking for safe positions in the nonprofit world. So if there's anybody else in here, we've created our little mini networking group. We're meeting every 2 weeks. But so I'm at the first round for 2 positions, and now it's strategy, right? To the question, the way they want it answered. But there's one that I'm not sure how I'm going to approach yet. And they want to know, of course, what do you know in the next is the biggest threats and opportunities for our industry in the next 5 years? Well, I don't work in the industry. I mean, and it's kind of obscure. I'm not sure where I'm going to get the answer, but I thought of do I just blind call some members and ask them? I want the inside track. So they want to know, what big, bold ideas do you have for us to achieve our goals?
Big, bold ideas. Wow. So
Yeah.
Do any of our experts want to weigh in on this one? No. There's Corliss.
I mean, if it were me, I would just start doing research online and look on LinkedIn and see who's blogging about the topic and connect to them and say, hey, can I talk to you? I read your article on X, Y, and Z. Let's chat, and then just see what they're, see where it goes.
Okay. This one's really interesting. When they just formed as an organization about 2.5 years ago, I applied for it. I came in number 2. They hired somebody from the industry to start it. So now he's retiring, and now they're doing the interviews again. So I was very open. I said, hey, I interviewed. I was number 2. They were excited, but I'm one of 6. So you know how that goes.
I would add on to build on what Corliss is saying. And I would say that it's a lot about the way that you make decisions and the way that you come up with ideas. So I think what I would highlight is this is the way that I would go about it, and this is why.
Process.
And I think that shows the decision-making ability. When I work with Techer International on CEO symposiums, and a lot of times that's the way that we are talking with the executive team and to work with their board members in order to build trust, so that they believe in their decision-making ability, and that it's really more about that,
I like that. That's good. I like that. I'll focus on process, but I love that. Corliss, I'll go to LinkedIn and see if I can find the people. That's
yeah.
Idea.
And someone had a question I saw someone had raised their hand and then lowered it. I'm not sure if we got their question answered, but I also see that we have a question over here in the chat. So Corliss, do you have a video or book about navigating the government job process?
I have lots.
Lots and lots.
We have lots. So
All
YouTube
right.
has, I haven't been there lately. I think there's 20 videos on different topics. And then on LinkedIn, there's a lot of videos if you connect to us. I do something called the Federal Job Search Minute. So there's, I think, 20 or 30 different kind of minute mini videos. And then there's a book on Amazon that's available. And in that book, we give a lot of samples on different federal resumes, and we talk about the process.
So many. You're
Yes.
mentioning so many different things. I think I started keeping more copious notes after I had seen some of these. So I obviously need to copy some of these links down. So I'm ready to put them into the chat. But yeah, what we can do, if people want to get access to those links, should they go?
The other thing, just real quick, Kiki.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Uh-oh. We're not hearing you.
Yep. Wendy, if you could put that in the chat box, that would be great.
Oh, Corliss,
You're breaking up a little bit, Kiki.
Oh, Corliss, I think we lost you for a second. Or is it me?
Yep.
So somebody let me know which one. No, it's not me. Okay, Corliss, I think we lost you for a second. Yeah. All right. Does anyone else have? Oh, here we have Sandy. Did you have a question?
Yes, I had a question.
All right.
I do want to make a comment. Corliss last week had offered, there was something where you could go and do like this 30-minute kind of information on applying for jobs. And I did that I think it was yesterday, it was Wednesday. Anyway, I want to say it's really good. So anyone who's thinking about federal jobs, check out what Corliss has. It was really good. And I ended up actually purchasing her book on Amazon as well, just as an FYI. My question has to do with LinkedIn. And I just wondered about the difference between the regular LinkedIn versus paying for the Prime and how much you get out of it. I've used it both ways, and I don't seem to get much out of the Prime, and maybe I just don't know enough about it, but just wondering in this whole scheme of things, what the difference might matter for any of us.
I would be curious to hear, so first of all, I'll open this up to to the experts here on the panel, but I would also be curious to hear about from some of the other people who are on this call who might be using, you know, the what do they call it? LinkedIn Prime version, because I've been using that. I was grandfathered into the current, like, so the, you know, from the older pricing. So I've been holding on to it for dear life because the prices keep going up. It's a little pricey, but I'd be curious to hear what our experts have to say.
All right, Kiki, I guess I need to answer if I'm still right next to you in the stars box here. So the Prime, to me, it's pricey for what I use it for, but my company reimburses me, so I have it. But it allows me to send in mail. Basically, I get so many in mail each month to contact people that are not either my second, third, you know, first, second, third connection. So I can reach out to people. And from a recruiting standpoint, that's helpful to me for contacts and that type of thing. But there are ways around that. So I don't know if I would spend the money to do it, but there may be other functions that from a non-recruiting standpoint that I'm not familiar with. That's my 2 cents.
I'll tell you, I think it's really worth it because of the, and I can imagine that it would be really worth it from the job hunter's point of view, just because you're able to connect with people that you aren't directly connected with and ask them questions and build relationships, not just from a what can you do for me type of thing, but in my case, you know, like I have a podcast and stuff, so I have a reason to reach out to people and have these conversations, and I don't know what I would do without it. You know, it's the easiest way to connect professionally with people that they know that I'm somewhat vetted and I can get through. You know, that said, it is extremely pricey. So I think you have to also be honest with yourself about, are you going to use it? You know, one of the things that we're all guilty of doing is, or most of us, I would say, is signing up for these things that we pay for that we don't get a lot of use out of. So I think if you know yourself that you're not going to, you know, commit to using the features if you have them, maybe you're going to rely on the networking, you know, doing things like this, connecting to people you know, but you don't really ever think you'll be in that comfortable space where you can reach out to somebody you don't directly have a connection with already, then maybe it's not really worth it for you to spend that money, because it is pricey and it's getting pricier. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
Oh, I want to add one more thing, Kiki. The other thing to do is to find out the full range of benefits that it offers and see if it applies to you or it's going to be useful. And I think you can do that through a LinkedIn salesperson or, you know, friends, or you probably could look it up online to see the full range of benefits that it does offer.
I'll tell you, I also like the ability to see who looks at my profile. You know, I like to go in and see if somebody's kind of fishing around to get information. And I don't know if you use that, or those of you who have it, but that for me is one of the things that I highly value, is just seeing who's looking at it. And sometimes I'll do, because I sort of think of the work that I do as sort of being in PR for myself. Sometimes I'll look to see, like, how often have I come up in search results? And if it seems like fewer people are visiting my profile than what they did before, it might be time to post an article or something like that, where I'm generating more people to come and look at what's Kiki doing on LinkedIn and to look at my profile. And so that might be one way to justify paying for premium, is to look at it as, okay, it provides me with a certain metric of how many people are visiting my profile. And then of course, who are they? All right. Ooh. So Sandy, did we answer your question? Yes.
All good.
I just
Thank you.
chime in about the LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
I think once I
think I started going through the process of paying for premium and I didn't finish it, but I went through the process far enough that it triggered an offer via email for like half price for 1 month. And then one other month I did try it. I paid full for the month and I realized, like you said, I signed up, but I didn't really get the value out of it that I thought I would. And I knew that. So I was going to cancel. So I canceled. And then again, they sent me an offer for like half price for another month. So you might want to play around with that because they do have offers. They're just not, readily advertised.
Wouldn't it be really great if we all knew, just as an aside, wouldn't it be really great if we all knew the things that would do that? Because I feel like that, like I'm on Noom and Noom does that. Noom does that. So how are you going to like get the best deal? Do I have to pretend like I'm about to leave?
Right.
I don't know.
I do that with SiriusXM. If anybody does that, I call every 6 months and get it reduced back to the introductory offer. So that's just another one.
See, we're helping each other out here.
Yeah.
That's really good.
They used to be able to do that with the cable companies. Can't do that anymore with them.
Yeah, they're not very
they caught on to
responsive
that.
about
Yeah. Oh, and here we go. Dia's adding to our resources list. This is the resource we didn't know we needed, right? When you abandon your shopping cart at most online vendors, you'll likely be offered an amazing deal. Yeah.
So LinkedIn is the same way. They've done that.
Okay, so now we know. Now we know. All right. Lena, did you have another question?
No, that was just a comment.
And Sandy, did you have another question?
I'm good. Thank you all very much. I appreciate all the input.
All right. I try to go by the raising and the lowering of hands over here. So I see Will, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just going to put my input in on that. I tried premium for a month a couple of years ago, and then I made sure that I canceled it right within the deadline so I wouldn't be charged for the next month. But I know some people, I know one person who's a job seeker, he's like super excited about it. Yeah, this is great. It's really going to help you out. But for me, it's like I could see the last 5 or 6 people that looked at my site, and half of them are, a member of LinkedIn or a person who is called a recruiter or a person who is in the sales industry, but every once in a while I see somebody with their name on it. And I'm thinking, gee, if I pay money for this, am I still going to get those disguised, hidden things there? But the last I checked, it was $29. And I think that the benefits you get are to be able to see who saw you. You get, different learning experiences, which used to be called lynda.com. It's linkedin.com now. You get a counselor and one other thing that I think we mentioned. I forgot what it was, but just like 4 things. And it always kind of aggravated me that they were kind of teasing you with who saw your site. Yeah. But what I did was I figured, well, here's things that I need for my, toolbox. I signed up for a Power BI account, which is one of the tools that I'm using, a Microsoft Power BI account. That cost me $15.95 a month. And I signed up that cost me $9.95 a month. And I signed up for a Zoom account. Mm-hmm. So I have more than the free version. That cost me $15. So adding those together, it's like $26. I'm still ahead of the $29 for LinkedIn. And I figured, hey, I'm getting use out of those. I'm being able to create dashboards and put them out there for people to see. And I'm able to hold a lot of Zoom meetings without worrying about it timing out on me. So
if you don't mind my inquiring just a little bit more because I'm not as familiar with the Power BI account. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you're using that? I don't know about the rest of you, if you are all very familiar, but I'd be curious to know how you're using that.
Well, Power BI is a data analysis tool that was built by Microsoft. And it basically took they put a lot of analysis extensions and sub apps in Excel, and then they just decided to take that and make it its own tool. There's a desktop portion of it where you work on your computer and create something. And then when you're ready to load it, you load it to your Power BI account. Now, people working in industry have the premium account, which is all internal. Only people in that company can see that. Okay. I've got the was it the Pro account? I forget the names that they, Everyone uses different naming conventions, but the account that I have is I can actually go in and create dashboards and, you know, use statistics and everything. And other
Okay.
people who have a pro account can see it, but there is a way that they let you create a link to your account for any, you know, any normal citizen, you know, any non Power BI person can actually look at your link. And I've got one embedded in my website right now. But you know, that to me, that is a more valuable tool because I'm going into an industry where I have things I could show that I can do. And I figured the money was better spent on that and helping me to increase my skills and increase my ability to keep current in a program instead of trying to figure out. I mean, if people want me, they're gonna get me. You know, they're gonna contact me. They're gonna get me. They're gonna contact me if they really want me. It's nice to see who's been looking at my site. Some of that is puzzling, but some of them gives me an opportunity to like invite them to become a connection. But,
I love that. And if you wouldn't mind, and if you do, that's fine. But if you wouldn't mind, would you share your website with all of us in the chat so that we could check it out and see how you're using it and maybe learn from that?
Sure, I can go ahead and put that in there.
Would all of you like that, just to see how he's using it? What I find intriguing is that no matter what, and Dia, I see your hand raised, so I'm coming to you next. No matter, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just really confused about this. I'm confused from the get-go. Is this about a website and who's visiting the website, or is it who's visiting your LinkedIn page?
No, I put that on my
missed a basic understanding of this.
Yeah, I put that on my website for potential job seekers. Now, what I'm talking about is nothing to do with LinkedIn.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, instead of putting the money into LinkedIn, see what tools you need in your trade. See what else, you know, what other kind of either website or resource that would help you in either learning something or connecting with somebody or doing something that you know, helps you in your trade, you know, connect you with more people and more recruiters rather than, you know, spending the money on LinkedIn. And because I feel recruiters are going to find you if they want you.
It shows you, it's a way to show what you can do. And I think that falls into, that's very helpful for, I mean, think about how nice it is if he's talking to a recruiter or something, he's able to then say, well, go and check out. And he has this whole thing that shows some of the work that he's capable of doing. It's almost like having a portfolio that you put in front of someone if you were sitting across the table or desk from them. But they're able to see the work that you're doing right there. And I think that that's something to really think about no matter what line of work that you're in, you know, whether it's writing about it as a LinkedIn article that you're posting to LinkedIn, whether it is, you know, pointing to work that you've done, how can you showcase your talent, your skill? How can you showcase the capabilities that you have in a way that people say, oh, they're not just blowing hot air, they actually can do this. I can see it for myself.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the original thought that I had was I have a tablet and I was going to load things on a tablet and show people, but it's like if you've got a LinkedIn page, you don't really need to bring anything. You just show, you know, ahead of the interview, you give people the. I'm doing that right now with a job I'm going through several rounds with. I had a couple of examples on there. They looked at it, but still it's something I would talk to. And if we talk together, I bring it up on my screen, they bring it up on their screen, and we can both talk about it, you know, during a remote interview. I'm going to put my website in the chat. I mean, if you want, I could share, if you want me to share a screen, I could show it to you real quickly, but I'll put my website in the chat and tell you where it is. And
what I'm going to do, why don't you share it in the chat? I'm going to give you co-hosting ability, and then you can share your screen. But in the meantime, let me take this question from Patrick. and see if Patrick has some questions for our panelists, our panel of experts.
Hi, this is a question for Will, actually, just to confirm what that I understand the concept that he's talking about. So on a LinkedIn page, you could have this kind of information displayed, or a link to this information. And what he's done also is to have a link that would be embedded in his resume, which is electronic as well. And so in the end, are you avoiding LinkedIn to do, and with this tool, are you adding to LinkedIn's exposure of this by having a separate same link attached to your resume? What is the scheme that you have going in general?
Well, basically, the reason I brought that up is because LinkedIn is requiring $29 to give you like maybe 1 or 2 functions. And I thought my money was better spent, instead of spending it on that, I spent it on 2 different other resources, totally different than LinkedIn. One, and I guess you could link it up to LinkedIn too. I haven't tried it. But one of them is a tool that helps me with my knowledge and help me increase my skills and keep my skills up to date. And the other was Zoom, actually, which of course we all know the benefit of Zoom. So that's basically where I felt like if I'm going to spend my money, pick and choose, I mean, the same comes in with networking groups. If you want to spend money on a networking group, do you think that's valuable or not? Do you want to join an organization? I mean, there's all these decisions we have to make. This LinkedIn thing has bugged me for years, whether or not to do, give them more money. And now that they're Microsoft, it's like, well, do I want to give Microsoft more money?
Right. Do we want to give anyone more money though? I mean, but okay. So Patrick, did that get your chat here? Thank you.
One follow up to that would be, if you do have a LinkedIn page that you say don't pay a large amount to LinkedIn, and I'm not that familiar with LinkedIn, but would you be able to embed this link in your page so that they would get to the other resource, the Power BI, to get there, and as you wouldn't lose the exposure of not having it available via LinkedIn, as well as already having it embedded in your resume that you would send independently to people.
Okay, what was the question again?
Sorry.
I thought it was a statement. I couldn't find the question.
Yeah. Are you foregoing LinkedIn and they're being able to access this Power BI dashboard or whatever other resources you create to be displayed, not embedding that link on LinkedIn and your LinkedIn page? Are you not able to do that, or would you consider also doing that?
Well, since you mentioned it, I might consider it. I've just never tried it yet. But usually if I didn't want like everyone to look at this. I want to save it for, hey, if I'm going to be interviewed, I want someone who's going to look at my work to actually see this. So I have to decide if I want to put it on LinkedIn, then a lot more people are going to see it before they interview me. I don't think it's a real expert thing where people are going to say, oh, wow, this is great, I got to hire him. I think it's more part of the process, and I release it at a certain time by sending people to my website with an email when it's now in that part of the process. Oh, by the way, here's some things I can do. And the purpose is not to wow them, but to say, oh, okay, this guy has enough control of the tool where he can create this kind of graph and this kind of, movable slicer in there.
I will say it also suggests that you've done your homework, that you're well prepared, you've got organized thinking behind you. I mean, it's saying other things besides just look at what's on this, visual data. I think it's saying that you're already thinking about what that person might be needing from you.
Will made a digital brag book, basically.
Exactly.
Are you guys familiar with brag books?
Yeah.
And so normally, in the old days, that used to be a binder of your accomplishments,
Exactly.
The top salesperson, or here's a strategic plan that I made, or here's my 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plan that I plan to leverage for this new job. And the only, and Will, I'm with you. I was actually gonna basically put my brag book online, and I did, and then people started stealing like stuff from it. So,
No, Tammy, that's
yeah.
terrible.
So my thought was, I'll still have it. I have it now in a presentation form. And it's a little tricky to like show what a strategic plan or a playbook that I had created in the past looks like in a PowerPoint. And I found a way to do that. But basically it's something kind of to seal the deal towards the end. Sometimes everyone wants to know what you can do. And in an interview, we sort of default to telling them what we can do. And it's so much better to show them, to have that, oh, this is a status report that I had done. Oh, okay. Oh, this is a strategic plan. And it just gives you more credibility, I think. And it's definitely a source of differentiation.
For sure.
Now,
Christine,
just
I
want to
wanna-
comment on that, Tammy. I understand you're concerned about people stealing stuff from you. And I just happen to have a web page because I've been in the tech industry for many years. And so it's somewhat fun. It used to be more fun than it is now to put a web page together. So I'm trying to use this for my tools. I use this for other business related items as well. But if you have a means to put a link on a website somewhere or put stuff out in a website other than LinkedIn, you could put it in such a way where it's hidden, where nobody can access it. But when you go to your employer or the person, your potential employer, you can give them a link to that will go right to it. It's like a hidden page. You can't access it from the menu of your main site, but it's there. And if you have this specific link, you can get to it. So you can control who gets those links. So. Okay.
I want to make sure that we have enough time this has been really interesting. I mean, I Shira does such an incredible job of sort of, organizing all of this every week, but it's been really interesting to hear examples from each of you and to hear some of your questions. So Christine.
I was just gonna comment. I'm listening to Will and I hear what he's saying. I mean, you kind of have to give some thought. You ultimately, we want the face-to-face interview. So if you give too much away on LinkedIn, even though it does advertising for us that we might not even be able to envision, if somebody looks at it and discounts us, you've missed an opportunity for having that great conversation. So I can see his thought pattern on saying, oh, I'm not going to just put it all out there on LinkedIn. But I think part of the value I'm reading between the lines is also that now that he has that license of Power BI, he's able to load his own data in there and kind of, really create the dashboard that is meaningful. Okay. And so in contrast, here's another thing. If we just want to learn Power BI, keep in mind all of us who connect up with our local public library, at least Fairfax County, you can go on to your libraries lynda.com and you can take a course to learn Power BI or some things like that, but you'll only get to the 101 level and you won't be able to load your own data. So I guess going back to how this whole conversation started, I've been like everybody else. I'm right now paying for web tools and job scan. Am I using it to the fullest ability? Some days yes, some days no. But I think we have to say, hey, am I loading data into it? Then I'm going to progress past the free library account. That's just my 2 cents worth.
And bring it back to LinkedIn. Not everyone is doing what I'm doing, with showing my skills on different things, but LinkedIn does offer you the ability to write or post articles, the ability to make a comment on something, to join groups. There's so many other things that you can do, no matter what industry you're in, on LinkedIn for free to kind of boost your I guess your rating or something like that, and your visibility on LinkedIn.
And
So I
yeah.
would say concentrate on those things. You
And
know,
the benefit
you're
of
comfortable.
doing that is every person that you're connected with professionally has the ability to already be connected to that content that you have control over. So whatever you put out there, you've already got that. It's not even an audience, it's those connections that can then bring more people to you that would be interested in what you have to say for whatever purpose that may be. Patrick, I see that your hand is raised, but before we go with your question, because I know that we're nearing our time, Dia has a question that I think our panel of experts can answer. Is JobScan better than JobSeer? JobSeer. Okay, and does Corliss or Rick, or I know Wendy had to jump off. Do either of you have anything? No?
I'm not that familiar with those tools, so I don't want to comment on that.
Dia, let's save that one for next week, and I'll ask and find out about that. All I know is that I have the link shared from previous mentions and previous calls, but I'm not sure which one is better. So we'll have to look into it. All right.
Actually, I have experience with it with JobScan. Like they will offer you maybe 5 scans, and after that they will not allow you. Only you have to pay. But with Jobs here, it's free. And actually, I learned it here with from someone in the board. So yeah, I love more Jobs here because of course you want something free. You post your resume, and they will compare it with the job and tell you, okay, what you are missing, like skills, what you need to add. So yeah, it's better. I think I will go with Jobs here.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Wow, Amani, thank you so much for adding.
You are welcome.
I certainly didn't know, but I know that it has gotten brought up many times before. So I wanted to go ahead and let's get your question, Patrick, or your comment. Did you still have one?
Yeah. Yes, sorry. I'm looking for more of a training position in the federal government, and I was wondering if there are, other than searching the code, the job code across all the agencies, is there currently a way that would allow you to find out training departments in each agency that have that are hiring, like right now, especially right now? Is it like a lot seems to be opening up in some pockets of the federal government? Is there a way to find out, other than doing a widespread search by job code, about those openings?
Ooh, I don't know. Rick, do you happen to have an idea?
Not with the agencies in particular. I mean, the government contractors, obviously you can find different types of positions, but I think that's more of a Corliss question. And I don't really know the answer to that either.
Yeah.
That's strike 2 on me.
I know. Well, you know what? I mean, so we're nearing the end of our time. And I have to say that if you didn't get a chance to ask your question today, really think about those questions that you have. If when we come back, if you have a question, if you plan on coming back or not, you can always reach out to the experts who are on here. And Shira is just always incredible about getting back to people. I don't know if any of you have personally reached out to her, but she cares very deeply about everyone that crosses her path. And so if you have a question, always feel like you can reach out to her as well. But she closes out the session every week in a certain way. And I don't have that memorized, and I don't have that written down. But what I can say is that I can share the resources that we have, that you can check on all kinds of things as far as job search videos, the resources page, how to reach out to everyone, how to watch this video if you need to come back to it for any purpose. And I'll also close out with the way that I know for my own podcast. And I always tell people to keep asking questions to learn every day, because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, or great rest of the week. Go into the weekend, have a wonderful weekend. And please feel free to reach out at any time. I'm so glad that you were all able to make it, and let's all hope that Shira feels better and overcomes her allergies for next week. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Kiki.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.